Hey everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and this is going to be a video on perspective. Hope you guys enjoy. So the first topic that we're going to be discussing today is what is perspective? So the way people define perspective is basically an outlook or a point of view towards certain things, certain objects, certain products, certain people and situations, basically an overall outlook and point of view of life. So the second topic that we're going to be discussing today is the two types of perspective. So that will be the good and bad perspective. So let's start off with the good perspective. The good perspective is basically a outlook or an attitude in life where you see everything as a positive, where you see things or unfortunate circumstances as a way of growth and maturity as an individual. Because most of us at times we tend to see the bad in things, and I know it may sound cliche, but there is a lot of good in even the bad stuff that happens in life, and there is stuff that you can take away in bad situations as well, not only in good. So having a positive perspective allows you to have a growth mindset, so to say, because you see things in bad things and bad situations or unfortunate circumstances that you can grow from and that you can learn from and become wiser and stronger emotionally, physically, and mentally, as well as spiritually. Sorry. And so having that strength, having that wisdom, and that physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental strength. Now, when you go through the same situations again, the same unfortunate circumstances again, you would know how to overcome them. You would know how to grow from them even more, rather than sitting and being super affected by them in a bad way. But on the other side, the negative perspective, this is where um, this is where we tend to feel lost. We tend to feel hopeless. We tend to feel super down when there's a lot of bad stuff happening and a lot of bad situations happening because we never seem to see the good in them and we only seem to see the bad. So therefore, we think of it as a way of torture and as a way of punishment for whatever mistakes that we've done in the past or whatever misfortunes we have caused to others, and we don't see a sign of growth, we don't see a sign of wisdom, we don't see a sign of lesson to be learned because we deemed it as punishment for the bad things that we've done, and ultimately that leads to demotivation and belittling ourselves because we tend to beat on ourselves and put ourselves down because things just don't go our way. We seem to see it as punishment by God or whatever, that we didn't do this right, so this is our punishment for this. But in reality, there is a way of growing from it, there is a way of developing from it and becoming a better person from it. You just have to change your mindset a bit. So now we move on to the third topic, which is how to change your outlook, your attitude, and your overall perspective of life. So let's say, for example, let's put you in the lowest position that you could ever be in, and you have the negative perspective, the bad side of it. You will feel so hopeless, as I have felt before, because I have been in this situation before actually, where I just feel completely hopeless, completely lost. And before I would just before becoming wiser, a little bit wiser, I would have called myself like completely wise because I'm just 18, so not a lot of lessons learned yet. But yeah, before I used to be so emotional because I wouldn't see any way of getting out of it, any way of overcoming it, and any way of growing from it. I would feel stuck. I would feel trapped in this cage that I put myself in, where I wouldn't be able to do anything, basically. I wouldn't be able to move. I wouldn't be able to do the things I love to do because I'm so focused on that one little mistake that I've done or one little, unfortunate circumstances or struggle that I'm going through. All because I had a negative perspective on life and I was like, there is no way coming out of this. I am not gonna get through this. I am gonna suffer here for as long as it takes. But what do you know? I eventually overcame it because I just had a negative perspective on life. And that is what it'll do to you. You'll be stuck in a place for so long, for as long as you let yourself be in, because ultimately we are our own critic ourselves. We tend to judge ourselves so much rather than other people because we know our capabilities and we know our talents and we know what we are capable of. And when we don't achieve that, and when we don't pay up to that standard, we tend to think low of ourselves that, oh man, I didn't get the grade that I want. I was like, oh man, I didn't get the job opportunity. Oh man, I didn't post a video because I'm too lazy. Oh man, I didn't, do this, do that. And it tends to cause disappointment. But having a growth mindset and changing to a growth mindset and a positive perspective, instead of having those lots of oh mans and I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I wasn't so lazy, I wish I wasn't so negative all the time. If you have that growth perspective and that positive mindset, instead of wallowing in your despair and dwelling on your mistakes and regrets, you will see what you can improve, what you can grow on, why that happened, what is the purpose of it, and how will that contribute to you growing as an individual, as a person. Overall, contributing to your growth as a human being, personality wise, perspective wise, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It all helps in having a positive perspective. And, transitioning from that bad side to the good side is never really easy. It takes time. It's like an addiction. Everything in life, I would say, is kind of like an addiction where you you've it's not like you like it, but it's like you've been in that place for so long that you're used to it. So it's not really, a kind of changing from that or going away from that feels kind of weird and feels kind of unusual. And it's like, I would say it's not in your comfort zone. So yeah, that's another thing that I want to touch on in this. Like, changing your perspective is basically leaving your comfort zone and trying out something new. Okay, let's say you're a full-on football player, but all of a sudden you change to a sport like cricket, baseball, basketball, or anything else. You're so used to football and you're so used to like the rules and stuff, the guidelines, the plays that you make, and your skill set is basically revolved around football. But you change the sport, so you have to adapt to like the new rules, the new team strategies, the new skill sets that you need, and how you can contribute to getting a win. And that is the same thing with perspective. You have to adapt to the new stuff that you're going to be dealing with in this new perspective or new outlook in life. So when you're in the negative and you move to the positive, you have to focus on growing from things and seeing the lessons that life is trying to teach you, or certain people or individuals, circumstances is trying to teach you, instead of wallowing and dwelling in the regret and the sorrow of those situations. And that in turn, it may take time. It may take, I wouldn't say it would take months. I wouldn't say it would take days. It would take even years. Who knows, maybe even decades. It depends on just how long and how much you want to change, and how long it will take for you to accept that new phase in your life, or new way of life, I would say. So yeah, it takes time, but you'll get there eventually if you want to and if you're willing to. So yeah, that's the way of like having a growth mindset and having a positive perspective. You always look for the good in things and you always look to grow. So yeah, I'll conclude this with this. It may take time, it may take a lot of effort and struggle, sacrifices, and overall, change itself. And as we know, change is never easy. But if you take the time and if you take the effort to change for the better, uh, you see the benefits of it. You see your positive perspective kick into overdrive when you're faced with circumstances or situations, and it'll all become a better place overall altogether. And now we reach the final part of the video, which is my final thoughts. So my thoughts on perspective as a whole, and this whole talk as a whole, is that perspective is a really important thing in life that we need to manage and control, because it's overall our outlook in life, and it's overall our attitude and the way we behave and the way we react to things. And we all can grow, we all can improve. And that is the thing about perspective. You need to have a good perspective, a practical one, so that looking at the good sides, but also you're taking into consideration what might go wrong. And in turn, when you have the positive mindset and the the idea that something could go wrong. You'll work on improvements, you'll work on preventions, precautions that you can take to not, completely eliminate all the risk and all the bad stuff that may happen, but to reduce the effect of it, to mitigate the effect, that some people say. So yeah, having a good perspective in life is important, especially having a growth mindset and a growth perspective. Because when you have that, you can also focus on productivity, which is, doing stuff like this, making videos, playing your games, streaming, what do you call this? Updating that YouTube channel that you've been, or starting that YouTube channel, which you've been planning to start for like days now, or weeks, even months. And, overall pursuing your passion, pursuing your dream, uh, even working on uni stuff, getting that assignments done, studying, improving on that. It's overall just making use of your day, while you're in the house. I know it's hard. I know it's kind of tempting to sleep all day. I mean, I've done it. And it's not such a good feeling when, you wake up around like 2 p.m. or 12 p.m. and you see like half of your day is gone and you haven't really done anything. But you know, uh, it's all about having that growth mindset at the end of the day and having that good perspective, positive perspective, which I've been rambling about the whole talk. But yeah, it's important to have that because with that, you grow, you become a better person, and you ultimately make the path to becoming the person that you want to be in life. And with that, I conclude this talk. I know this talk has been really long and kind of confusing a bit, but anyways, yeah. Have a great day, guys. Wherever you are in the world, hope you guys are doing all right. And yeah, perspective.